Hi everyone, I'm Father Scott Vanderveer, and in my 8 years of priesthood, I have noticed that when someone calls up to make an appointment to speak with me, there's a very good chance that one of the main topics we will be discussing involves forgiveness. Forgiveness is an essential part of living a happy human life because all of us experience things that we wish could have been different. All of us have aspects of our life that we would really like to change but have no power to. And forgiveness is the way that we can accept reality exactly as it is. When we accept something, we're forgiving it for being what it is. We're allowing it to be as it is, even if it's not the way we would have it. Recently, I learned that there are 3 different components to the process of letting something go, and none of them is required. We have a choice about doing any one of these 3 things, or all of them, or none of them. When we go through a hard experience, we can forgive the person or the situation. We can then also pardon them, and we can also reconcile with them. We could do all 3. We could forgive them, pardon them, and reconcile with them. But perhaps we will just forgive them. Maybe we will forgive them and pardon them, but not reconcile with them. Whatever we decide to do, we have an opportunity to walk away from all the baggage that we've been carrying from a past experience. That's really a good definition for forgiveness. It's refusing to carry the baggage from a previous experience any longer. We say, I'm putting this baggage down. I don't wish to carry this anymore. I am no longer going to think again and again and again about how different this could have or should have been. I'm simply going to accept that it was as it was. Forgiveness is putting down the baggage from a previous experience. Another way to define forgiveness, the way that you can know that you've forgiven, is when you give up your right to revenge. In order to forgive, we need to acknowledge that something happened that wasn't right. Something happened that hurt, that wasn't just, that wasn't as it should have been. You don't have anything to forgive if everything was fine. It involves acknowledging that something wasn't fine. But then you say, I have every right to feel angry about this. I have every right to resent that person for a long time. I have every right to get revenge. I surrender all that. I do not want revenge on them because then that's more work for me to do. I do not want to carry the baggage of this experience because it's heavy. I don't want to reflect on how wrong the experience was because I would rather spend my time thinking about positive things. Forgiveness says, I have every right to be angry and resentful at you, but I don't want to because resentment is like acid. It just corrodes the container that it's in. As long as I'm filled with resentment, it doesn't affect you at all. It's corroding me. So I surrender my right to get back at you. I surrender my justifiable right to think about this and feel self-righteous. I surrender the right to carry this baggage. I'm putting it down. That's what forgiveness is. We can forgive if the person is sorry or not. We can forgive if the person apologizes or not. We can forgive if the person is alive. We can forgive if the person is dead. We can forgive if we never see them again. Because forgiveness is not about anybody but ourselves. It means we are no longer going to carry this, and no one can make us carry it. We choose to put it down. No one can make us take revenge on someone who's wronged us. We choose to surrender it. No one can make us hate or resent anyone else. We choose to let that go. That's forgiveness. The next aspect is pardoning. Pardoning is when you make sure that the person does not have the consequence that they normally would have. Pardoning is when you say to them, I will not punish you for this. Sometimes pardoning happens when someone has been wronged by someone else, yet they still go to the trial of that person and ask the judge for leniency. Pardoning is when you cancel the consequence the person would have had. That's why whenever a president comes to the end of her or his term, in our culture, they have the right to issue pardons, meaning you don't have to pay the price anymore. If the person is in jail and they're pardoned, the door is unlocked and they get to walk out. The same thing is true when we pardon someone who has wronged us. We're canceling their consequence. Many people forgive, but don't pardon. Jesus doesn't say we have to pardon each other. He says we have to forgive each other. So you can forgive because no one can stop you. But that doesn't mean that you go to the trial of the person who harmed you and ask the judge to be lenient. You may say, I wish for them to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But that doesn't mean I'm carrying around anger and hatred for them. It doesn't mean that I need to take revenge on them. I simply wish for the justice system to work. You do not have to stay in a relationship with someone who has abused or hurt you. If you do stay with them, then you're pardoning them. But you can forgive them without pardoning them. You can forgive them and not stay in the relationship. That happens. Of course, the last component of this, of the three, forgiving, pardoning, and the third, is reconciliation. That's where you say, I want to be in relationship with you again. I want to restore what we've lost. That is one of the most beautiful experiences a human being can have. If you have truly wronged someone and you've lost a relationship with them and then you get it back. They tell you, I want you in my life. And so I'm going to put whatever happened between us behind us. They say in Hollywood that when they test films with audiences, testing audiences to find out what people like and don't like in a film, and they put all sorts of measurements on them, pads under their arms, little transponders on their temples, if they have all these different tools to calculate how human beings feel about things, they have found that if you show a moment of reconciliation in a movie, there is a 95% tear rate. Even if the person doesn't openly weep, they will get tears in their eyes if two people who used to mean a lot to each other and have been separated then reconcile. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that beautiful? But reconciliation is not for every situation. Perhaps that's why we cry when we see it. It's rare. It's special. It's not appropriate in every situation. Sometimes we forgive and forget. Other times we forgive and remember. We don't wish to forget what happened to us, not because we want to dwell on it, but because it's a lesson learned, or because it creates a boundary with another person that's appropriate. One of my very favorite quotes that I recently learned about the topic of forgiveness is a really life-changing way to look at things. Forgiveness, it said, is when you retell the story of a past situation, telling it with yourself in the role of the hero instead of the victim. Isn't that amazing? Let me say it again. Forgiveness is when you retell a story from the past with yourself as the hero instead of the victim. If you're the forgiver, you're the hero. You're not the victim. Forgiveness is finally giving up on the hope that you could ever change what happened before. You can't change it. So you can move beyond it as a noble, as a virtuous as a heroic person and leave the past behind. One person said they never knew how strong they were till they forgave someone who wasn't sorry and accepted an apology that they never got. Ooh, the power of forgiveness. Let's consider some things in our own lives, shall we, that have been painful, that have been unfair, that have been hurtful, that have changed our lives, that have caused us deep pain. Let's see if we can look at those stories in a new way and tell them just as truthfully, but this time with ourselves, not as the victim, but as the hero. God bless you.